people love the Spook show. When I did the first time, people kept saying, I don't understand what it means. I was like, do you know this book, The Spook That Sat by the Door? It's about a guy who disappears into his, hadn't heard of. So I said, well, that's why it's called The Spook Show. Um, and so I did it, and I had lots of characters, and I honed them, and they were fun. And the little girl who, goes to the beach, because nobody will help her or comfort her when she finds herself pregnant, who does what women did in the old days, which is why they tried to make abortion safe and clean, because women used to do damage to themselves and the fetus with a hanger. And I wanted people to remember that.
And the brilliant reveal that she's the way you constructed that she's 14.
Yeah.
You save that for the end, which just is like devastating.
Well, because things happen to people at all ages, and you don't ever want anybody to have to go through that. You want people to feel like they can come to you, particularly young women. You want them to be able to come to you and say, this is what's happening with me. And she goes to the confessional, and she goes to the church, and she goes to all the people you're supposed to go to, and nobody was there for her. And I just felt like people needed to remember the why of this. It wasn't about religion. It's never been about religion, And the same with my differently abled friend. I lived, as I said, in Berkeley, and so we had the center. It was right on Shattuck Avenue, and it was where all the folks who were differently able demanded, for the first time, put a dip. My wheelchair cannot go up. That came out of there.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I believe Berkeley was the first place where, folks got militant and said, listen, we're here. So I'm doing these characters, and a friend of mine who he was probably 6'8". He had an accident on his motorcycle. Big old dude, too, and was a paraplegic. We're leaving somewhere, and he comes rolling up on me, and he says, okay, how come I'm not represented here? Why aren't you doing a character like me? I was like, he said, what, you don't think, I said, no, yeah, but let me work on it, Ralph. Let me see. And so that's how the differently abled woman came. And in talking to folks over time and talking about who you are when you dream, and we all appear to be different in our dreams. We all appear to think, if I was, if I'm, 5'4", and I think, would you be 6'2" and to have long, gorgeous hair, and there you are in your dream, and you're thinking, is that me? That looks really weird, because in your dream that you're kind of dreaming, but you're doing stuff. You're flying, or you suddenly made $1 billion and you're living in some weird place. Anything can happen. So that's what prompted her to be the dancer in her dream, because dancing to me is the most elegant thing. Elegant way you can move. And so that's how she came about. So most of these characters were not necessarily me, but they came out of experiences with other people. Some I just made up, like the old raisin and the Jamaican lady. That's just a made up one, just because I like the idea of that commercial. Come back. Do you remember? Come back to Jamaica. I just and I wanted to do an accent, because all of this happened because people weren't hired. They wouldn't hire me to do stuff.